All right, time for some filling breakfast before heading out. Protein bread, fatty cheese, mackerel. This bread looks so thin, but it takes forever to chew. I really feel like I have to work my way through this, but sure, it's healthier than eating lefse for breakfast, so keep telling myself that. It is 7:15 and I'm setting off with a delay as usual. I have my bike fully stocked up with food. Got my buns, my banana, my broccoli, all the bees. And yeah, I have a ferry to catch. And we're starting the day off with a big bridge. Got a cool cathedral over here. I see cathedral or something like that. I see the ocean! Must mean an interesting thing is a lot of the signs here have this writing that's very hard to read. Like Breivikeidet, that sounds kind of Norwegian. Guokavmi. Yeah, very hard to read or pronounce. They claim to have the best waffles on the fjord. It's probably also the only waffles on the fjord, but you know, gotta test them. So there's a lot of people looking to get some food, and the boat was supposed to have left, well, basically now, and there's nobody at the cashier, so yeah, maybe they have the best waffles, but you can't even buy them. Somebody showed up, and I can get the fjord's best waffles. And my verdict on the fjord's best waffles, they're all right. I mean, they're quite eggy, but they're at least sort of, I suppose, somewhat fresh, but definitely not as good as if they'd come fresh out of the waffle iron. So I've had a lot worse, especially the Yuku one 2 days ago. I am off the ferry. I have an hour and 20 minutes, 21 kilometers to the next ferry, which should be pretty doable. So I don't know how well you can see it, but there's these two Italian cyclists up ahead of me. And I think I must be doing like half a kilometer an hour more than them, because I'm slowly, very slowly creeping up. Like there's a glacier up there. Yeah, I guess it's a bit colder here in winter than now. I did eventually overtake the Italian cyclists after about 20 minutes of cycling. And I'd estimate that they started out with maybe a 400 meter advantage, or 400 meters ahead of me. So I guess I was going maybe 1.5 kilometers an hour faster than them. Not very much. I made it to the next ferry terminal, but actually only with 6 minutes to spare, because there was so much headwind going up. So I hope the Italian couple makes it. Well, it's a 40-minute ferry ride and it's noon, so it's perfect time for lunch. I even brought some goat's cheese or brown cheese to go with my buns. Perfect combination. I made it off the ferry, surprise, but I had a very nice lunch and a long chat with the Italian couple that was very friendly. I also wasn't gonna finish the goat's brown cheese, but it's really oily, and I'm a little bit worried that if I leave it in the front of my bag, it's just gonna create a big oily mess all over my bag. So now I am stuffing my face with brown cheese, but I'm sure that'll help for my ride coming up. A little bit of wind, maybe? Anyway, after thoroughly washing the goat's cheese grease off of my fingers and my face, I'm ready to set off again. I did, however, realize that I didn't actually do sort of an overview over this section of the trip, and figured I'd do that quickly. Basically, between Tromsø and Nordkapp, there's one big-ish city left called Alta. And that's 290 kilometers from Tromsø, and then from Alta to Nordkapp, it's another 240 kilometers. And so I'd planned basically 5 days, because getting to Alta in 2 days would mean 145 kilometers on each day. Also, there are some sort of somewhat significant climbs, like the second half, I suppose, getting to Alta is around 2,000 altitude meters, so it's quite a bit. Anyway, there's basically two options. Either I get to Alta in 2 days or in 3 days. I'm gonna try to go for 2 days, but yeah, I think it's definitely more than would be comfortable, but yeah, it would be nice to also sort of spend an evening in Alta, maybe get a hotel there and you know, try some fish maybe. You also have these mountains that are really just sticking out of the ocean. I mean, I know I've seen a lot of mountains sticking out of the ocean on this trip, but I feel like these ones, they just look a lot rougher. I think the cycling gods have decided to make up for the headwind they gave me earlier today. I now have what I'd estimate is around 25 kilometers an hour of tailwind. So I'm easily going over 30 kilometers an hour. I'm also enjoying this spectacular view. Lots of things to enjoy right now. I'm back on my favorite big road, the E6, that I think basically goes all the way north. Although for this section right here, they built a tunnel because it's a bit windy over the mountain, and bicyclists aren't allowed in the tunnel, so there's basically just an big abandoned road here that is effectively just for cyclists, which is kind of cool. It's nice to have the whole road just to yourself. Got some steep downhill coming after climbing this 220 meter hill, which I think I did quite well actually, like not even out of puff. I mean, I'm sweating a little bit, but a little lot. But I'm okay. Wasn't the steepest thing. And a guy is fishing in this little pond. I'm guessing he's not getting anything. Downhill when there's no cars on a wide road, that's fun. I really didn't want to stop, but the view here is amazing. This is beautiful. Look at this. I'm very curious about how you're supposed to pronounce this. No idea. The wind direction has turned with much gusto, because I am now going 12 kilometers an hour on slight downhill, just trying to battle off the wind. I just stopped at the last grocery store before the campsite, still 30 kilometers to go, but I picked up some bready thing, yeah, but there's otherwise no room on my backpack. I also caved and bought some cherries. That's right, they've been advertising for cherries, I don't know, for the last 2-3 weeks, and I've kind of wanted them, but they're not very practical. And these ones were Norwegian, the last ones I saw were Turkish, so I decided I'd buy them. But yeah, I think I basically need to eat them now because there is no room anywhere else on my bicycle to... I did finish the bag of cherries, and while it does say sweet and fresh on it, not a single one of them was sweet, sadly. Maybe the ones from Turkey would have been a better bet. I guess buying cherries north of the Arctic Circle is maybe not the best bet. We have sheep on the E6 road blocking me. Uh-oh. I don't really get all the sheep in Norway. Like, I've seen sheep quite literally every single day that I've been on the road. And I mean, what do we do? Like, do we use all the wool? Like, we can't sell that many wool sweaters or yarn. And I don't think we eat that much sheep or lamb related meat. And there's so many sheep here. Like, what do we do with all of them? Do they just mow our lawns? Or, I don't know. I made it to camp. Whew. It's not even 6 o'clock yet. I am freshly showered and cooking again. So, got my broccoli and my beef stew and my polar bread. Yeah, my camping cooker is a lot faster than this. This is my dinner. It's actually quite a bit better than it looks. And I have some delightful, cheerful company. My wife is on the phone. Would you like to say hello?
Hello, hello world. I'm not as lazy as I look. I just had a very long day, which is why I'm lying down now. So,
Big client meeting that Fiona aced. So my grand plan of spending tomorrow night in Alta has a bit of a problem. There doesn't seem to be any available hotels in all of Alta. I even called Scandic and they're like, no, well, maybe like try calling back tomorrow. Camping spots, there's nothing like sort of very close to central Alta. I called another hotel and they have a room that they typically don't rent out on Friday evenings because it's above the entrance to a nightclub. Yeah, I debated a lot, but in the end said I'd take it. My tent has been electrified. The very friendly people running this place suggested why not borrow one of their extension cables and run it into my tent. So hard to say no to that. Anyway, brief rundown of tomorrow. So to get to Alta, I have 145 kilometers, so fairly long, in addition to nearly 1,700 altitude meters, which makes tomorrow possibly my most challenging day on the whole trip. And if I have tailwind, it'll be fine, but looking at the weather forecast, there might be a strong headwind, even more challenging. My plan is then to arrive early enough in Alta to enjoy a dinner in Alta and see a little bit of the town so that I know what's up with Alta, and then get a good night's sleep in a room right above the entrance to a nightclub. Sounds like a pretty solid plan, right? Well,